All right, thank you very much, Bob. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. The May 11th school directors meeting for the Shelton School District. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We have quite a few reports to go over. We're looking forward to hearing those. So we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Bob. So if you'll pledge along with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So we're going to move to the adoption of the agenda. Have school board members had an opportunity to look over the agenda for this evening? Is there any discussion? All right, well, we don't have any changes tonight, so I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
That we adopt the agenda for the May 11th board meeting.
I second that.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda for the May 11th board meeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted. So moving on to item number 3, which is the community comment section of the meeting. I will read our community comment statement. As a part of the regular school board meeting, the board invites community members to make public comments in person and or by phone as conditions allow by calling the phone number and entering the ID number that is published on our website. Our public comment procedure allows each person 3 minutes to speak, and comments will be heard during the 2 community comment periods as listed on the agenda. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board may direct the superintendent to follow up on certain items that arise during public comment. As with in-person meetings, public comments received in writing or by email will not be read aloud, but will be directed for follow-up where appropriate. Please be mindful of how you present your testimony, as the board will not allow complaints against an individual staff member or student in open session, unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. Please state your name before speaking. And I'm not seeing anyone dialed in at this time, but Bob, could you go ahead and give us the instructions for muting and unmuting and raising hands, please?
Yes, if you are dialed in or wish to dial in, pressing *6 will mute and or unmute you on a telephone. To raise your hand, which puts you at the top of the list for attendees indicating you wish to speak, that's *9 on the telephone. And then if you do so, you will be called in order of raising your hand to ask your question.
All right, great, thank you. So like I said, I don't see anyone dialed in right now, but if anyone else who has joined us would like to make public comment, now would be the time. All right, so hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to reports and recognition. There will be another public comment period near the end of the meeting after the superintendent's report, and the board does welcome comments from the public. So moving on to item 4, reports and recognition. Our first report tonight is item 4.01, which is the Met Academy monthly update with David Brown.
Thank you. So good evening, everybody. I usually would like to give you a more direct report in that I would have liked to have visited the site just within the last couple of days to be able to give you an update that includes that, having just seen the site. I can't do that because I was fortunate enough to be able to spend Mother's Day with my mom in Boise, Idaho. Her retirement facility was open for the very first time this past weekend, and I was so lucky to be there with virtually my entire family. So I'm sorry I don't have that live report coming in, but I do have a couple of little stories that I'll share, and then a few photos to show how well this team does together. So when we started with the construction, we ran up against a little company competing for some of our product. This little company is called Amazon. It seems like they wanted to do the same kind of construction we did, so we had a hard time finding the roof structure we wanted to put in, and we just couldn't find it anywhere, and neither could anybody else in the country. So what we did was we got our contractor and our architect together and decided we're going to do something else. And we got together, put our heads together, and by golly, we said, we're just going to manufacture something locally. And so that's what we did. And it's a good thing we did it, because if we had not done it, the roof structure that we had wanted to use would not have arrived until about 2 months after we wanted to start using our facility. So that's success number one of our team. Success number two is even more fun than that. When we started digging at the site to get our foundation ready, we ran into an asbestos cement water pipe that was an old fire line that nobody knew was there. And with the term asbestos in there, you can imagine that's not a good thing. And the only way to get rid of that thing was to shut the entire school's fire system down, drain it, get that pipe out of the way, and then fill the system back up. And we did that in 1 day. An incredible feat that the contractor pulled off. And we really have to thank Chris Walton as well. Chris is your guy out in the field, and he did a fantastic job with that. So we are 2 for 2 on potential disasters turning into great success stories right off the bat. So let me show you a couple of little pictures and why. So can somebody share a screen with me?
You can share your own screen if you wish.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And let's see if I can. Well, maybe I'll be able to do this. Okay. Okay, getting close. Well, maybe we'll do this. I only do this about 1,000 times a week, and now it won't let me do it. Oh, for goodness sake. And due to the, there, hopefully we have it. Can everybody see my screen with the picture of the Academy? Well, thank goodness for that. So this is our new Academy, your new Academy. This is looking at it from what will be the north side that everybody will see from Shelton Springs Road. And hopefully I can get this to move. There we go. So yeah, this is about a 3,400 square foot building that is going to be ready in about the end of September. Here's the side the kids are going to see most. This is the south side, south facing side that faces into campus. And the next photo should be the inside of the building. These are the stations where the kids are actually going to get training. Each one of these is a technical workstation that this one right here that you see in front of you is electronics circuits, things like that. There are other ones that have pneumatics, hydraulics, various technical stations that are just a wonderful training for sending kids out into the technical world, all ready to go straight to work in the fields. And this is kind of the timeline that we followed all the way back from the beginning of the year actually back in the beginning of 2020, following our design process all the way through. And now we're down here in the construction period at the very last leg of the project. And by finding that AC pipe in the ground, it has put us at a point where we are 11 days, projecting 11 days past where we want to be finishing. So that puts us at what, September 35th, it looks like, right? So
I'm familiar with that date.
so anyway, but what that does is it looks a little scary, but we are right at the start of construction, and being at the start of construction, we'll make those 11 days up. We should be able to make those 11 days up without much trouble. And that is, the other thing is we've got a really flexible schedule. The way we set this up, we're finishing ahead of where we really need to be. So even if we can't quite squeeze a little bit of the float time out of that schedule and make all of those 11 days up, we'll still be finishing ahead of when we really need the project to be done. So that's a good thing. Now, I mentioned the AC pipe, and this is how you find it. You run a tricycle out here, and until you hit a bump in the, no, that's not a tricycle. This is what's called ground penetrating radar. And this fella here he runs back and forth, and he can read a screen that actually sends a radar signal down into the ground, and he finds that pipe, and boy, he was spot on when he was looking for it. And there's the nasty culprit right there, but we got her out of the way and it was no problem. But when you have to do things like this in the ground, all in the course of one day, it's a pretty tall order to get done, and these guys just did an absolutely fantastic job. So congratulations to them, and a great team is doing a great job out at your project. So thank you for the time tonight.
Thank you, David. Do board members have any questions about the Met Academy? All right. Well, thank you so much. We look forward to hearing the next update next month. All right, moving on to item 4.02, recovery plan for the fall of 21-22 with Kelly Neely and Marianne Marshall.
Sorry, I had to get my technology. So, hi everyone, thank you. Can everyone see my screen? Thank you, Sally. Thank you, because I can only see about 4 people here. So the purpose of this is the state has asked us to complete an academic and student well-being recovery plan. And for this one, it is just the first plan that we'll be doing. It is meant to be a living document that we revisit at least 3 times a year. So OSPI has 3 different periods, one in the fall, one in the winter, and then one in the spring. So this is just our very first one. We use the data that we have. You know, there were some of our data is complete. Some of it is not because of COVID. You know, there are some students that are 100% distance learning. And so a lot of the used for the littles are one-on-one face-to-face. So that makes that a little bit difficult. when they are on the screen. But we do have some solid things to report. I am going to step through this whole thing with you. I do apologize for reading it. It's not the most exciting document, but it is our first step in this process. So our LEA is Shelton School District. Our contacts here will be Marianne and myself. It is for PK through 12. And this is the actual document template that OSPI sent us. So we don't have a choice of what to add or how to fill things in. This is exactly the template that they're having us use. So we have some attestations, public postings. So we have to attest that we have brought it to the board. We're going to have 2 times that we're bringing it. This first time is just to share it with you. And then the second time we'll be asking for your approval. We did use an equity analysis tool. It is from Shoreline Community or Shoreline District. Let me share that with you. Oh. I don't think you can quite see that yet. I'm going to pop out of sharing and pop back in just so I'm sure that you see it. There we go. Can you all see this?
Yeah, we can see it, Kelly.
Okay, so there were a few tools that the state has given us to look at. This was the very first one. Actually, it's the one that most places have used. It's just a series of questions in equity and the equity impact. So before the decision, it has a series of questions that we are supposed to ask ourselves, like who is involved in making the decision, who is at the table right now, what is the racial composition of the folks at the table, what dimensions of diversity beyond race is here, represented here, who is not. Based on our group membership, what inherent biases do we bring to the table? And everyone has inherent biases. Based on our group membership, what inherent, oh, I already went there. What institutional power within the organization do we have here? What powers do we not? Then who is affected? What is the racial composition of the impacted groups? Who is affected? If known, what is the existing racial disparity that we're trying to address? What are the data sources? What dimensions of diversity beyond race are in the impacted group? What are the power dynamics of the disparities between you and those affected? In which ways is the impacted group involved in the decision making and why that method? Then C, what are the impacts? How will the decision of this group advance equity in our system? What evaluation tools and measures do we need? In what ways will the decision fail to advance equity? What are the necessary resources to make an equitable decision? What are the potential challenges, structural barriers, and unexpected blind spots? Those are all the things that we ask before and during the time that we're evaluating. Then after an implementation of a decision, we need to reflect. So did you succeed in advancing equity? To what degree? How do you know? What evaluation tools and measures were used to determine the impacts of your decision? If no, what steps are we taking to ensure equity is still achieved? Who helped you in ways that you did not expect? What are the unintended consequences, positive or negative? And how have you invited authentic feedback, especially from those impacted, on our process and our outcomes? And then you write up a summary. So this is going to be the evaluation tool that we use over and over again for the next 3 steps to make sure everybody's at the table, that we're looking at it from various angles, and then what is the impact of that? Can you now see back to the plan? Okay, yay for me, it's working. So that is the equity tool that we've used. There's, I have to embed the link to that. Then the plan must be posted on each LEA's website after board approval. So as soon as we approve it at the next board meeting, we'll put it up on the website. And then we need to provide a link to that so that they can make sure that it's there. It has to have the disability and language access. Of course, our site is ADA accessible, so we have that. Any questions on that part 2, the attestations? and the public posting? No, thank you. Part 3, universal supports for all students. So the district-wide universal supports that are available to all of our students and at what grade level. So these are the ones that we currently use now and in the future to address any gaps in student learning and well-being. They gave us an entire list of things. And these, I'm so happy actually, we do almost all of these. We don't have an acceleration academy, but we do have additional instructional time before and after school. We don't have additional school days, and we don't have a balanced calendar. A balanced calendar is just a fancy new name for year-round school. So we don't do that. But we do have summer school, we build relationships, we use common assessments. We do have a focus on early learning, which is our K-4 literacy. We are embarking on equitable grading practices. We have extended day partnerships. The one that comes to mind right away is 21st Century. We have extracurricular activities. We have tutoring in different places. We are working on our inclusionary practices. That is a big focus for this next year. We do have some project-based learning going on at summer school. We have a multi-tiered system of support, both behavioral and academic. We are working on narrowing our standards. That's a new priority for us. We're looking at priority standards. We do professional learning. We have cell and mental health supports, and we're adding more to that every day. We have strategic staffing, and when I think about that, we have certain advisory groups, like for the freshmen, we have a certain group of people that we put with them. Some of our teachers also do looping. We look at who we're staffing in what areas. We've used student voice and perception. We've done many surveys on that. Transition supports. So the special ed department has worked really hard on these transitions, and we're also working on it for all kids. We last 2 weeks ago, you might remember me going over the summer school plan where we're talking about special transitions activities for kids. And then another thing that we have that we feel very strongly about and wasn't on here, but it's coordination with our tribes, which we're really proud of, and we have a really strong link and partnership with them. So these are all the things that we currently list. I would really actually like Susie Wisbicki to chime in here. We have something new and special that's going to be at our summer school that the counselors have worked on, and it kind of ties in that social emotional support too. So Susie, do you have just a second to talk about that?
I certainly do. I also had my dogs running back and forth in the background, so they were distracting. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the counselors at Shelton High and our school social worker, along with Gina, who works with us through True North, have worked together to put together a comprehensive plan that will provide social emotional support through summer school. And what that will look like is Carol Bennett, we just kind of like divided up the work so that lots of people would get a chance to interact with other counselors. So Carol Bennett is going to start summer school out by helping do a check and connect and goal setting with our students that are in summer school. Why are you here? What brought you here? How do we help you be here? What would make this experience successful for you? And then I don't know if you've met Sean Ames yet, but she is really just like a wealth of wellness. So she's going to run a Wellness Wednesday seminar in a rotation with her doing some wellness strategies. And then Gina is going to do some work with our True North access to services. And if you haven't met Victoria Bieber, she's a half-time social worker at Shelton High, but she's going to be there to do social emotional supports and resourcing for kids and families. So they're going to do a Wednesday rotation for a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to come in at the end, and what has been helpful, and we've done a little, this is because we had a taste of success the last summer with some students that would then come back and say, where in my grad plan did I just clean my mess up? What part of my room is more clean now because I came to summer school and I finished things? And then how will I keep my room clean? Which my own kids would be like, Mom, please quit talking about the room. So that little piece of like, what's cognitive behavioral therapy, but they don't know that. This is like, what have you done? Why did it work? How will you keep it going? and who continues to support you. So that's kind of our summer school support plan. It's definitely more comprehensive this year. It includes more supports in the middle. I'm hoping that it helps students that would find themselves with a good start, but having a hard time with momentum in the middle to hang in there and grind it out and to feel like they have the social emotional support to continue to. So that's our summer school plan so far. We've got some stuff we've been talking a little bit too about like how the increased social emotional supports for incoming 8th graders to 9th graders could look. We just had a meeting about that today. Thank you, Bruce, for joining us. We did some work about our rising 8th to 9th graders because it's been such a weird time. We've also talked a little bit about how to get, I'm just trying to brand things, right? So I'm trying to call it the Ollie Ollie Oxen Free, where we can get some of those kids that haven't been to campus yet. They can get a chance to be on campus and have a tour and see where they're going to be next fall, even though they're a 9th grader who's never been to Shelton High, but they've got a full year of high school under their belt at the school. So we're piecing together some of those pieces. We're working with what's been our climber crew, but we're kind of thinking about them as being ambassadors, working with Matt Hirsch, if you've met him, and Eva Sanger and or Eva James and Amy Devon. So just piecing together how that changes. I love the piece that came out of today. This is what happens when we all get together and kick around the problem with different pieces. And Bruce brought to the table this idea that what happens if we just chunk out a big fat place of the day for advisory, so all kids get orientation. So our freshman kids don't have to get special dry rides. You don't have to worry about how they're going to get fed. They just take that part of their first school day to gather their orientation experience. So we started to get creative about that. And Kelly, you have an email coming with some of our notes. We geeked out a little bit with ourselves. So appreciate the opportunity because that part's really fun.
It's a new thing for us, and I am super excited about it as well. That's why I asked Susie to come and talk about it. We spent some time talking on the phone this morning, and I feel like I could spend all day just talking about the exciting new things that we're trying with our kids to try to get them all reconnected, make sure that they have and that they know that there's somebody there at the school who cares about them, knows them one-on-one. We're talking about having time for especially our freshmen to meet one-on-one with their advisors. So it just is really, I'm super excited about it, and I'm thankful that we do have some of the CARES money coming in that will help with that, and everybody's been really great about looking forward and trying to make this different for kids this summer. This year has been so hard on everybody. So that is what we are doing for summer school and the supports here. Does anybody have questions under this section 3, which is our universal supports? No? Thank you. The next section, diagnostic assessments. So what type of assessments are we using to help identify the special knowledge, skills, and understanding in order to build on the specific needs that the kids have? So we don't get to choose. This is just a very long list of different assessments, but I want to make it clear it's going to look to you like there's a ton of assessments that we do, but they're not done with every single kid at every single grade level. This is just a check off list of things that we do. So for instance, Alex is really just used at Choice High School right now. Curriculum-based assessments, those are the things that come with our material. All teachers use assessments that come with their materials. That's just a natural thing. Dibble, really only done with the little kids. Easy CBM is done with a certain group of kids. OSPI screeners for literacy skills associated with dyslexia, those are for our littles as well. Read 180, that's just a whole suite of assessment tools that the teachers can use. They can build their own assessments, that sort of thing. Read Well, that's one of our programs that we use for the little kids, and it comes with assessments. Really great reading diagnostic assessments. Of course, we do the Smarter Balance, ELA, both interim and summative, math, interim and summative. We use the Scholastic Phonics Inventory for a certain group of kids, SRI just for a certain group, teacher-made assessments, they use those all the time. Teacher recommendation, WA Kids, and we're currently using ELPA 21 with our EL students. Next year, we'll be using WIDA. The state is transitioning from ELPA to WIDA. So again, I just want to be really clear with everybody here, not every student at every grade level takes every one of these assessments. We just have to list the ones that we use. Any questions about that?
I have a question there.
Yes,
The
Sandy.
WIDA only seems to be kindergarten first. Oh, I'm sorry. There is a 1 in there. I saw that
Yes.
as grades 1 and 2. I'm sorry.
It's
Never
okay.
mind.
When you said that, I had to look at it again too. Yeah, there's a screener for kindergarten, and then there's the actual test. It's just like Alpha 21, how we do a screener for the kindergartners, but then we do the full-on test for the rest of the kids.
Thank you. I
You're
apologize for my mistake there.
No, you're welcome. Then we have to talk about well-being diagnostic assessments. So we use the school climate survey, and we use WARNS here in the district. We use the student COVID impact surveys. We use information from SWIS, which is about behavior. We have teacher recommendations and other well-being resources for our students. The interesting part about this is that the school climate and the COVID impact surveys, they're not even, the data is not even back from that yet. So we can't really base it on the information from that, but we're basing it on the information from all of our other sources. Any questions about those? So then it continues. They asked us for each academic diagnostic, what grades do we use? So you'll see here the different grades. Alex is 9 through 12. Curriculum based is K-12. Dibbles is K-4. Easy CBM is K-8. Walk Kids Gold is kindergarten only. The screeners for dyslexia are K-2. Read 180, the teachers use those tools in grades 5 through 10. Read Well is basically K2. Really great reading. Most of these are not diagnostics. These are just assessments that we have available to us. The really great reading is actually a diagnostic. We use that in K4. All of our Smarter Balanced assessments are 3 through 12, mostly 3 through 10, but we do have some 11th and 12th graders that take them. The phonics inventory really is only for grades 5 through 8. SRI is 5 through 10 here. Teacher made assignment assessments, K-12, we all use them. Teacher recommendations, K-12. Law Kids K, and Alpha 21 K-12. Any questions? I know it's a lot of information, a lot. Then we have the well-being diagnostics. So our school climate survey comes out in grades 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. WARNS is 5 through 12. COVID impact, K-12. SWIS is K-12. Teacher recommendations is K-12, and our other resources are K-12.
I have a question there.
Sure. Andy? Is she frozen?
Did we lose her?
How about I go on, and as soon as she pops back, hopefully she'll stop me. So then they also want information about the diagnostic assessments, how many times we use them. So the ALEX is multiple times a year. Curriculum based, that's again multiple times a year. Teachers use those all the time. Dibbles is 3 times a year. Easy CBM is 3 times a year. Walk Kids Gold is kindergarten just once a year. OSPI dyslexia typically is once a year. The assessment tools are multiple times. Teachers use them when they want. Read Well, it's at the end of every unit, so that's multiple times. The K-4 diagnostic is 3 times a year. The Smarter Balance, the interims can be used at multiple times, but the summative, obviously, we only give it once a year. The phonics inventory is just once a year. SRI can be multiple times. Teacher made, they use them all the time. Teacher recommendations, all of the time. Walk Kids, it's once a year, and Alpha 21, it's once a year. Sandy, are you back with us? Maybe not. Any questions on this part from anyone? I'll circle back to her. So the well-being diagnostics, they also want to know how many times a year. So the school climate is once a year, warns as many times. COVID is once per year. The Swiss data comes multiple times. Teacher recommendation multiple times, and well-being resources multiple times. Student voice and family voice, we have done advisory groups, we've done surveys. We also used, and I was really excited to be able to use this, our groups that our subcommittees that we had from restarting school. So Marianne and I called back together our groups in social, emotional, and academics. And I ran this whole thing through them. Carrie had to miss half of it. And I told her, oh, don't worry, you'll be getting this again multiple times here with the school board. So it was good to have those people there and to give feedback. Most of their feedback was around what we could do with summer school and other programs, which I really appreciated. This one doesn't have a lot of space for feedback, but we do use advisor group surveys, and we're going to continue to meet with those subcommittees every time we do this. So then we have strategic support for students. This is a totally different area. Sandy, are you with us now?
I hope so.
Did you have a question?
More of a comment. In going through the previous sections, it seems like the curriculum, McGraw-Hill and those other ones that were listed, they actually have a wellness component to their curriculum?
Some things do, but that's not usually what we base our information on.
Right, I noticed it wasn't checked for us, but
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was something that they offered.
I think more and more companies, Sandy, are putting out like curriculums that have to do with social, emotional, and supports for the schools. The more that becomes an issue with our kids, the more that they're bringing out different curriculums.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So based on all the data that on all those assessments, different assessments that we used in the district, Bob Tronson put together a breakdown of all the data for us, and we looked for gaps in the learning for kids. And so these are the identified areas that the state wanted us to look at for gaps. American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian, Black or African American, Hispanic, Latino of any race, Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islanders, 2 or more races, white, English language learners, low income, students with disabilities, students experiencing homelessness, and students in foster care. So with all the data that we had, we were looking for gaps in the learning. The only groups that popped out that had significant gaps for us were Hispanic and Latino, white, English language learners, low income, students with disabilities, and students experiencing homelessness. There were 2 things on here that really caught my attention. We didn't really have a huge discrepancy with disabilities. However, Jenny Lafreniere, our director, noticed that we have more kids that need ESY this year. Jenny, are you there?
I am.
Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because that is kind of a difference in the rest of this.
Sure. So out in buildings, watching some of our students, I've noticed things like muscle tone loss because they haven't had their physical therapy multiple times per week or not getting it in outside therapies. So we're talking about gaining some of that muscle between now and going through the summer.
And is some of that taken up in ESY?
Yes.
Yeah. So we wanted to mark it on here, even though it didn't pop out of us with academics or with the social emotional, but it is a discrepancy that we found between this year and last year. And then thank you, Jenny. Then the other thing that we noticed was students experiencing homelessness. There isn't a large gap at elementary with the data that we have right now, but the gap does become larger at secondary, which signals to us that we need, to do some more wraparound and to really make sure that we're taking care of those kids and those families. Any questions about this?
Kelly, could I just add that while our data is not as clean as we would like it to be because of COVID, we are going to be readdressing this multiple times during the year. And so next fall and next winter, our data should get more complete, including the states with our enrollment forms. We're getting much more specific about some of our ethnicities than we've been in the past. And so that will hopefully give us a little better breakdown as well.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. One of the things too, when I was meeting with our stakeholders, Kimberly Miller was with us, and we are going to be working very closely with her because she feels that we might not have the most up-to-date information all the time with foster care. And that is, I'm sure, very true because she gets new foster care folks on her rolls all the time. So we're going to make sure that before we pull this data together, that we've met with everyone, Kimberly especially, to go over the foster care roles to make sure that we do have them identified properly.
But I don't see a box for that.
For foster care, it's right down
Oh,
here.
there it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
There wasn't a big discrepancy, but as Kimberly pointed out, she really felt like we probably didn't have every single kiddo because she just in the last couple of weeks, she's had a lot come in through her program. So we're definitely going to work closely with her and both tribes actually to make sure that we have everybody identified appropriately before we start pulling that data.
Yeah, I don't think they are all. We just reopened our early learning center and we have a significant number of foster children. But I was wondering about the student well-being. Is that just measured with the SEL?
So this one right here, Sally?
Yeah.
So,
how is it measured?
Okay, so the first one we have is the school climate, and that's given to 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11 grades. So Marianne, can you talk a little bit about those? You head up that area.
Yeah, so our we just finished up our school climate survey for the year, and when our building principals came at the beginning of the year to show their one-page SIP plans, you'll notice that a lot of them, if not all of them, had goals around the school climate survey, and it's a series of questions for the different grade levels. So that's one way we measure the environment in our schools and outside of our schools. The warns, when we talk about warns, that's around attendance and truancy. So when we have concerns with students who have missed 7 to 15 days, we would issue a warrants and go through a series of questions to investigate what is going on. So those happen multiple times a year, depending on attendance and truancy issues.
Okay, great. That's what I was wondering. Even because we talk a lot about the social emotional learning, but also whether they're absent or not, what about our students with medical concerns? Are we addressing those?
Yeah, absolutely. We would take a look at individuals' 504 plans, the number of 504s, what are we seeing in those 504s, what are the needs? We'd also work closely with Jenny Lafreniere with special education and the needs there if it's a special education issue.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome, Sally.
Kelly, can I ask a couple questions too about some of that section? I know you, well, just in general, you know, this part of it, I guess, I'm looking at what I was taking notes on. I know that this is a living document and there's going to be different check-in points. And I did attend that meeting as much as I could last Wednesday before having to take my daughters over to gymnastics. But, and we're talking about inviting input, and it is something that like I know we're getting a lot of that information from student surveys, but I am concerned about just making sure that we are getting more student voice and more representation, whether that's part of, any of these feedback groups that we're getting, and not just in a survey form, but if there is some way to conduct, either smaller group interviews with students, with their families, and making sure that we are getting that from different groups within our student population so that we can get a better idea of how we can help them with this recovery plan. I think that's, I don't know how much, how much diversity of all kinds is being represented on all of those subcommittees. Sometimes it ends up being the same people that volunteer for some of those things. And is there a way to outreach, meeting some of these other groups where they're at versus, here's a meeting, come to it if you'd like to, and you get kind of the same people that do that. I don't know if that's, part of this, or how we can better do that. That's just something that's been on my mind about this.
Can I speak to that?
Oh yeah, totally.
One of the great things that's going to help us with that is that equity tool. So going through the series of questions, if we recognize through our data that these are the areas of students that we need to focus in on, then we better in our equity tool as we answer those questions, make sure that we have proof that we've met with those subgroups, both our stakeholders in our community, our families, but also our students. So we will be accountable to that.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Carrie, that's a great part for us heading into the fall and next year. We had feedback, the feedback that we could get in this short two-week period that we had. But yeah, that is a goal of ours, is to seek more student input, especially around our secondary kids, and inviting them to the table. And as Marianne said, making sure that we are actually, if we're going to be talking about these things, do we have a Hispanic or Latino voice at the table? Do we have low-income students? Do we have students with disabilities? Do we have our Native American kids there? Do we have that voice? So thank you for asking about that. This is a working, like I said, a working document. And
Yeah.
I like to think that as we move into the fall, we will have a fresh batch of data, like Bob said, so that'll help. And we'll also have kids actually back in person the whole time. So this will be an interesting take on it, and be able to bring more people to the table.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I mean, I'm very aware that this is a document and a requirement from our state. And so there's kind of a short time frame on it, but I also know that our school district cares very much about our students and our families and our community and all of this. This isn't just something we're having to do. This is, definitely something that we're concerned about and wanting to help, meet these needs where we can, as much as we can.
I'm particularly interested in how the students, I'm glad that we're doing this summer school piece with them on how to re-engage. What do they need to re-engage? Because clearly we have some kids who did not engage and have moved away from the inner circle. So I'm really excited to hear what the counselors bring back with that after having worked with the kids to that point. Did you have any other questions about that section?
I think I'm good now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I can chime in with another question.
Yes.
I was kind of surprised that there weren't a couple of additional boxes checked. So is that?
Oh no, did we lose you, Sandy?
Yeah, I think we lost her again, but following up with that, I had sort of the same feeling. There's a couple boxes I was surprised weren't checked. So is that basically telling us that some of these groups are, I don't know, how do I put this, basically okay?
They're not off the radar at all. This just happened to be all the data that we could collect, all of the information, all of the numbers, and the numbers are actually kids. But when I was looking at this as an overall picture, some of our gaps, like the kids were like 56, 60%. Some of those other areas that we thought would be checked were 13 or 14%. But Shelton always has, and I love this part of us, it doesn't matter if it's 13% and it's much lower. Those are kids. And so we will circle back around and we will try to pick up every single one of those kids. I imagine that when we go through our next collection of data, you will see some different boxes checked. This was what we had for this go around. So
now, Kelly, how were the numbers used?
So
was it just like our standardized test? They had to have so many numbers or else they didn't count?
So when I went through it, Sally, we know what score we were looking at to have a benchmark in each area. And so when that group met the benchmark, it didn't count. If it didn't meet the benchmark, however many percentage of kids out of that group didn't meet the benchmark, then that showed up as the percentage. So overall, I mean, depending on how you pull the data apart, you could check every box. But overall, these were the boxes these were the gaps that arose at the time. We know that this coming in the fall, this will look different. Any other questions so far? Okay, so the next area is strategic supports for identified groups. And they were asking us basically to identify supports that we don't already do, which I find very strange because we already do almost all the supports. So I checked them again. They may not like that, but I did check them again because we do all of these things here. So I went through and checked. I'm not going to read it to you because this is the exact same list that was there before. But I will tell you, then they wanted me to identify which groups we were focusing for this. And there were a few differences in each category. For the most part, Hispanic, white, EL, low income, and experiencing homeless popped up. Those were our big groups in the boxes before. However, summer school students with disabilities I included for the very reasons that Jenny said. And then when you come back down through here, in early learning K4 literacy, I did not mark homelessness because our students are not currently showing a gap in K4, those students that are homeless. The rest of them are all exactly the same. I filled them in almost everywhere. Inclusionary practices, obviously I wanted to include our students with disabilities. But the good part about Shelton and the part that you all should be proud about, all of these things that they're listing as things that we need to focus on to help these groups, we're doing. Is there room for improvement? Yes. But we are already literally doing all of these things. So they're here, they're marked for these kids. Do you have any questions about that? I'm just so proud of Shelton for already being here and doing these things and not waiting for the state to tell us to do them. It's a good thing. So then I had to go through and I just had to identify the grade levels. They're almost all the same. K4 obviously is for the literacy. And then extended day partnerships, we do that just for K7. That's only at Evergreen currently and at OMS. And then extracurricular activities, we do have them at other areas, but predominantly 5 through 12. The project-based learning will be in summer school for K through 8. The high school kids are mostly doing credit recovery. And then the strategic staffing, that's very prominent at the high schools where they are specifically assigning certain teachers to certain kids, certain groups. And then the transition, we're doing all of those things. So do you have any questions about that? Okay. So the last part on here is they just want us to describe how our Shelton will consistently apply has selected equity analysis and diagnostic assessments to evaluate and monitor student progress and effectiveness of the strategies and interventions implemented to address gaps in student learning and well-being. So our statement is our district progress monitors with diagnostic assessments at least 3 times a year. We run everything through an equity analysis each time we assess and adjust strategies for each identified student learning gap. So in other words, when we have our 3 times a year that we need to go back to the state and come back to you as a board, we will have gathered all this data. We will have sat down, will have gone through the equity analysis tool, and then we will report that back out. Then they ask us, of the strategies and interventions your LEA has implemented or is planning to implement, identify up to 3 in which your LEA has knowledge, skills, and capacity to mentor another school district. So the 2 that we put down here is early literacy, K-4 literacy. We've done a ton of work with that, with our interventions, buying a new curriculum, our teacher professional development, and then MTSS, the multi-tiered system of support. We feel very strongly that we are on the right track, and if another district asked us for help or wanted something, we could definitely help with that. And then the last thing is, of the strategies and interventions your LEA has implemented or is planning to implement, please identify up to 3 strategies for which your LEA would need support. Well, we only really identified 1 that we might, oh my goodness, that we might want to go back to get help from another district who has already gone through this. And we have started, sorry about the page, we have started equitable grading practices. We've been looking at them for a while. We have a committee that is working on this. Equitable grading practices is a long, long journey. It usually takes about 3 years or so to go through all of our grading practices. It's a philosophy you have to work on with your district. And then you also, at the same time, you update your report cards and reporting. The thing that, one of the reasons that we are picking this back up again next year is that we're moving to priority standards, which narrows our standards that we're using, and that will impact our grading practices. So it's kind of a perfect time next year to kind of roll them in together. Any questions? That is our entire report.
So when you say equitable grading practices, is this more along the lines of standard-based grading? Is that what we're thinking?
A lot of it is, yes, Sally. Yes. And you know, it's a big philosophy, and for some people it's a definite change. It's not how we were graded when we were in school. So it is a big conversation to have, but it is what needs to be done for our kids. We need to be equitable.
So is this what, I seem to remember maybe Bob Tronson gave us a report some time back on equitable grading practices. This was the same thing?
Yes, it is the beginning of that. Yes, Sandy.
Okay.
Yeah, he started it, and we've been working on it all year, and we will continue working on it probably for the next couple of years.
And so will it go back to a committee again to be worked on?
Yes, there will be several different committees actually, Sandy, when you work your way through this. So the big one is for everybody in the district, and it's talking about different philosophies. Then once we get past that, we'll probably break it out into elementary, middle, and high school, and then also have parent and community involved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions about this? You're muted, Alex. Are you? No. You're still muted.
Well,
One second. Okay, I'm okay.
Yep, you're good.
Bob, can you comment on the work that you did on this particular issue? And then, of course, with the pandemic, that kind of stopped us in our tracks to some extent. But can you kind of summarize quickly where we left off?
Sure. So we've been meeting for a little over a year. Again, COVID kind of interrupted our process here. We started with a book study. We've looked at our current report cards, our current status, and have had multiple discussions about the direction we want to go from here. We've met with other districts who have implemented standard-based grading to kind of pick their brains about the best way to roll this out, should that be the direction we go. And as Kelly said, with the priority standards, this is sort of the perfect time to meld those two things together. That as we're looking at the standards more closely, that we're going to be focusing on how are we going to assess those? What are the things that matter and what are the things that don't?
Thanks, Bob.
Yep.
Carrie, did you have a question? I thought I saw you.
Yes, and it's not really a question for you, and I did send this out to the board. I attended the WASDA call that they do every week, and they did send out, or they have listed on their website, the FAQs about this recovery plan. And then they also did recommend a model resolution that the board adopts. So I have sent that to Sally along with the information around that. So I'm not sure when we would do that or how we would go about doing that, but there is a model resolution just to make sure that, you know, it says it's not required. We can adopt this without that. But they are saying that it is a step for the board to just be, you know, showing state that we're doing state and federal guidelines to get those ESSER funds. So if they're recommending it, I think it's something that the board is worth taking a look at and deciding whether or not we want to adopt that resolution as well.
I think that would be important to do.
And I have emailed the resolution and the information to Sally Carr, so she's got a copy of that.
Very good.
All right, other questions for Kelly and Marianne? All right, thank you very much for the very, very thorough report and all the work you've done around that.
Thank you.
So, moving on to item 4.03, which is student athlete academic achievement with Trevor.
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. Just wanted to throw out one of our goals here in the athletic department was to have every single team achieve a 3.0 GPA or higher. And so far, we've had 17 teams that we've checked their GPAs, which was the spring sports and the fall sports. And there are 2 awards that the WIAA give away. One is a Distinguished Team Award, which is a GPA of 3.0 to 3.49, and an Outstanding Team Award, which is a GPA of 3.5 to 4.0. So far this year, we've had 7 teams win the Distinguished Team Award, which is a 3.0 to 3.49 GPA. And those teams are cheer, girls soccer, baseball, volleyball, fast pitch, boys soccer, and football. And reaching the 4.0 to 3.5 GPA, which is the Outstanding Team Award, we have had girls tennis, dance, boys track, girls swim, boys golf, boys cross country, girls track, girls golf, and boys tennis with the highest GPA of all of our teams this year at a 3.807. So that means that 7 teams won the Distinguished Award, 10 teams have won the Outstanding Team Award, and all 17 have reached that 3.0 GPA or higher. We have 6 more teams left this year, which are girls basketball, bowling, boys swimming, girls wrestling, and boys wrestling. So we're really excited to see what they do this year. And we will be checking their GPAs very soon. And I would just like to thank all of the coaches, counselors, and teachers, and anybody else who's helped our students achieve this goal.
Excellent. Thank you, Trevor.
You
Any
got it.
questions or comments for Trevor?
No, congratulations to all those athletes for their great grades. That's excellent. It's really nice to hear.
Yeah, I agree. When we say student athlete, student is the first part of that. And so to be a successful athlete, you need to be a successful student. So coaches, teachers, principals, counselors have obviously been doing a lot of incredibly hard work and heavy lifting as we've been in sort of challenging educational times. So it's pretty impressive that we're basically seeing all of our athletes do as well as they are. So thank you for tracking that, and thank you for bringing that to us, Trevor.
And I'd like to thank Heather King. She's the one that does all the data on that. So she does an outstanding job as well.
Thank you. All right. So item 4.04, which is the 2021-22 budget development timeline. A little tricky saying that. I'm used to saying 2021.
Thank you. Good evening. I have some news that just arrived at 5:06 p.m. tonight. OSPI sent me an email, and the F203 software that projects our revenue is up and running. They didn't think they would have it out till the end of the week. So I will be trying to get in there tomorrow and start doing some magic with that. So that was exciting news tonight to get that. So what that does, we plug in enrollment projections, which Dr. Apostle and I have talked about several different numbers to run several projections. So that will calculate all of the state revenue that we receive from there. And the grants will come in periodically. We'll get emails giving us our allocations on federal grants and that type of thing. We have already had one round of school meetings with the principals to discuss their staffing for next year. So that process has already gone through round one. Once I run revenue, we'll be coming through for another round. We're not going to kill the school board with meetings unless you want to this year. We've toned them down. So what we're planning is the first meeting will be May 20th with a study session. The intent for that meeting is to go over the F203 projections. And Tammy Ford and I have been working this week on plugging in 3 staffing levels. You run them in separate modules. So we do have a 100% online. We do have the hybrid version, and we're building 100% in person again. So we've already started that process behind the scenes. Then we're planning again June 10th for another study session with you, and we'll be giving you revenue and expenditure updates that as changes start coming in. And then we'll discuss which budget the school board would like me to submit to the ESD for review. And then June 29th, we'll plan to have another study session with you. And again, do the similar thing of the revenue and expenditure updates as those change. Of course, we're in negotiations, so that may have some changes in there also. And then at that point in time, I'm hoping that we'll pick the final budget that I will submit to the ESD. That deadline is July 10th, which is a weekend. So I'm hoping they're going to give me till Monday, but I haven't heard that yet. So we will submit then. And at that point in time, I have to have a public document for anyone that wants a copy available at our front desk. So we will be doing that. The plan to adopt the budget, we'll do a first reading at the first meeting in August on August 10th. And then we'll do a public hearing and the adoption process on August 24th. And a little bit behind the scenes there, I will be starting the budget advisory committee very soon here after I run the F203 projections. So I'll have items to discuss with them. And alongside that, we're going to have another committee that we'll run through to discuss how we will allocate out the ESSER money. So we'll be running all these things behind the scenes. So that's our plan for the 2021-22 budget. Do you have any questions on that?
Questions for Brenda? So part of what we're doing with the budget and some of the dates that we picked, especially that June 29th, is we're hoping to have the bulk of the budget wrapped up before we make the transition to a new superintendent. So then it's more just a tweaking instead of a planning kind of thing. So that usually we have our study sessions on Thursday, but that one is on a Tuesday, which is like the 5th Tuesday of that month or something. So we don't have a board meeting. So that's why that was scheduled then. So if board members have any questions about that, I know Brenda has sent out the list. I've also sent out the list of meetings. So do let us know if you have questions around that. All right, thanks, Brenda.
You're welcome.
All right, item 4.05, graduation update. We're less than a month away.
All right.
Mary Ann.
Good evening to the board and President Carr. Just want to give you an update on graduation. So on June 3rd at 6:30 in the Performing Arts Center, we have 13 seniors graduating from Cedar. On June 4th at the SHS Stadium, we have 34 students graduating from Choice at 6:30. And at Shelton High School, we have 3 graduation ceremonies going on, 3 in-person graduation ceremonies that will, at each graduation ceremony, there will be 90 graduates. So the first graduation ceremony will take place at 10 a.m. The second will be at 1 p.m. And the last ceremony will be at 4 p.m. I believe on June 5th. And we have 270 seniors scheduled to graduate from Shelton High School.
And that's on Saturday, June 5th. Is that correct?
I have June 5th, yes. 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m.
And this will be in the stadium?
This will be at SHS Stadium, correct.
Rain or shine, correct?
Rain or shine, yes.
All right. And excuse me, the choice graduation is, I missed the time on that, June 4th, 6:30?
You said for choice?
Yeah.
So yes, June 4th at 6:30 p.m. at the SHS Stadium.
Stacy.
I think, Mary Ann, we might have mixed you up on those. Choice is on Thursday at 6:30 at the stadium. And I apologize. I bet I sent you I bet I sent them to you backwards. I'm having trouble keeping them in my head myself. So Choice is at 6:30 on Thursday at the stadium, and Cedar is at 6:30 Friday in the Performing Arts Center. I apologize, Mary Ann.
Thank you, Stacy.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. All right. Questions about graduation for Mary Ann or for our principals? All right. Excellent. Thank you very much for the update. Looking forward to graduation. Hard to believe it's almost already here.
So,
all right. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Very quickly, Bruce Kipper sent out a very detailed email to families, to the graduates about graduation in general at Shelton High School. And I'm hoping that we have sent out the same type of information regarding Cedar and Choice. But we were very clear on how the ceremonies were going to be conducted, the times, the dates, and so on. So I think that the families are real clear in terms of what's going to take place regarding our high school graduations.
Excellent. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I think board members, we also received a copy of that. So thank you for that, Bruce.
Is the parade of cars on a different date from graduation on the 5th that I saw in that email? What date is that? If anybody.
According to the email, it was June 1st.
June 1st. Okay, so that happens before the graduation event.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. So thank you for that, Mary Ann. Moving on to item 4.06, basketball court dedication with Katie Diamond.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here tonight. So I'm here to talk about the Terry Gregg Court naming celebration. The facility naming committee is super excited about this. They've been working their tails off trying to get everything ready. Terry Gregg has just shown time and time again his dedication to his teaching and his coaching career for Shelton High School. He has a long history of championships and he's been coach of the year. And so we're super excited to honor him. We have set the date for May 26th for the naming celebration. It'll be in between 2 basketball games right before the varsity basketball game against WF West in the Mini Dome. The celebration will start at 6:45 p.m. and we are allowing 100 individuals to come in person. Due to COVID, we have to restrict those numbers, so registration is required. We've already had a ton of people sign up. We're at about 75 respondents so far. Once we reach 100, I'll close the registration. But we are also streaming the event live for those who cannot attend, or if we do reach that 100 person mark. Yeah, the information is posted online for anyone listening. If you do want to register, we got about 25 spots left. It's gonna be a fun event. We have some cool things planned to honor Terry, and it's gonna be an exciting night, and it'll be something that'll last a long time in our Shelton High School history.
All right, thanks, Katie. Questions about the naming ceremony? All right, well, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to item 4.07, which is about the learning management system with Kelly.
I think Alex had his hand up.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
Thank you. I was just going to let the board know that they have been registered for the event. I just want to make sure that the board knows that they've been registered for the event regarding the dedication. So.
All right, thank you. So Kelly, you're up.
Oh, can you see my screen, everyone?
Yep.
Good, good. Like I've been with you a lot tonight. So here we go. Next part, learning management system. We actually are capitalizing on all of the new knowledge that our teachers and students have gained this year, being at distance learning and having to really up our technology skills. So one of the things that will help bring us into the forefront with the 21st century skills and where we should be with our teaching is a learning management system. So we as a, oh, thought I had that there. We as a district are going to move forward with this. We just wanted to bring it to you tonight. So I'm just going to go through the presentation that I made for our principals to share with their staffs over this. So what is an LMS? An LMS is a learning management system. It's an online education hub that has an abundance of tools for students, parents, teachers, administrators. It's pretty amazing. It supports classroom and online learning. So it's not only a tool for being at home or learning from a distance, but it is also a tool that can be used in the classroom. One of the questions that everybody does come up with is it just another thing? No, it's not just another thing. 21st century learning requires 21st century tools, and we are committed to bringing everyone a system that will support current learning plus learning as we move into the future. So one of what we have been using this year is K-12, but this K-12 has a learning management system, but it is also curriculum. A learning management system that we're talking about is the platform and all the tools that go with it, but it's not anybody else's curriculum. It's our teachers, it's our curriculum. I think maybe some of you might be familiar with Canvas, and that's what we're going towards is Canvas. So why not just Google Classroom? Because a lot of our teachers are using Google, they're using Google Classroom, they're using the tools. Google is a collection of tools. It's not a complete LMS. It's not a complete learning management system. Google does not integrate with Skyward, but Canvas does. And I want to share with you all that we're working with Andrew Hickman from the ESD, and he is the person that does all the technology there. And I really, truly trust him. He is an expert in this field, and he is our person. So anything that I've written here and done here, it's not from a salesperson point of view. It's from Andrew Hickman, whose job for the ESD and for the state is to deal with technology like this. Google, so when he tells me that it integrates seamlessly as you can get with Skyward, I believe him. Google does not really integrate with Skyward. It's kind of clunky and it breaks a lot, but Canvas is seamless and does uploads every night. And he's worked with several districts with this. Google can't provide as much information or data collection and reporting. Canvas has reports for just about anything. Teachers can actually go in there, and if they do a quiz with the kids through Canvas, they can see all the way down to how much time the kids spent on each question. You know, it just gives them a plethora of information. Parents can also see that type of information. An LMS allows teachers to share content between classes and other teachers. So if I am teaching, if I'm at the high school and I'm teaching freshman English and Sally's teaching freshman English as well, we can seamlessly share that information back and forth without having to upload, do any of that. There's a sharing portion to it that we can do between us. They can also split the classes into sections, which was really helpful, especially at some of our secondary schools, but also elementary, where you might want to have all your kids together, deploy out the assignment, and it goes to everybody. You don't have to go into each class to do it. Canvas has multiple options in one place. So you can do assignments, you can do discussions, quizzes. Kids have a lot of different ways that they can submit work to you. One of the really cool kind of things too, we have a new saying, it's a need to know or neat to know. This is kind of neat to know that when kids submit things to the teacher can write right on it in the computer program and make comments just directly to that student. So instead of, I kept thinking, wow, this would have been awesome when I was teaching 7th grade language arts, because I would take home stacks of things to do, but it all presents itself right to the teacher if they have them submit it through this. It presents it to them and they can write on it like they were doing it on paper and pencil. Canvas also has gradebooks that work with Skyward in nightly uploads. So one of the problems that we had with K-12 was sometimes K-12 was showing one grade and Skyward was showing another grade, right? And this does not do that. This does a nightly upload to Skyward so they match when the parents are looking at them. Canvas allows collaboration with student to student and teacher to teacher. So K-12 and Google Classroom and some of these other things, they do have like discussion areas, things like this, but this is really all teacher control and it's pretty quick, it's pretty split. Google Classroom, here's a big deal, and this was just brought to my attention. Google Classroom is not ADA accessible. So we can't use things that are not accessible up to the ADA standards. A lot of the other things, Seesaw, which is kind of an LMS, Schoology, which is an LMS, a lot of places are having to go away from that because they're not ADA accessible for their students. So that is a big deal, a huge, huge deal. One of the things, big takeaways. So one of the things that I wanted teachers to know and understand as they come away from this is that this isn't more work on their plate. It may seem like it, but as we transition, when you transition into something like this, you give up certain things. So this is a great tool for them. Google Classroom can be put directly inside Canvas. So if you do choose to stay with like the classroom, something that they've already created, it can go straight into this system. The system is built with HTML, and I don't know a whole lot about that, except for I was told with HTML, it will accept everything. So in some platforms, you can't put things on there that have a flash, or you can't put things in there that will take you to YouTube. It'll block that. But with this, it accepts anything that you put into the program. This next one is a huge deal for us. Parents have 24-hour access to their child's Canvas. So it's an app. It's on their phone. They don't even have to have a computer to get into it. A smartphone will work. So they can go right into that, hit their app, and it'll take them right to their Canvas. Here's another big deal for us that I'm really excited about. There's an interpretation app. And so they use Microsoft Immersive Reader. And so anything that's in there can be translated right away into Spanish, which is a huge deal as well, because we have a hard time finding programs and things that have both English and Spanish in them. There are multiple languages in there to choose from. They were going to check on the indigenous languages that we have here. I don't have a huge hope that those will be in there yet, but we definitely have Spanish. Our curriculums are right there for students. Students will see copies when they go into it, like if a teacher has assigned something to read in Reach for Reading, which is our elementary program. There's a link right there to their online book. They don't have to take home books. Our very own books are right there for them to use. And also Immersive Reader works on that so that they can interpret what's there, and the parents can hear it in Spanish if they need to be able to support their students for the assignments. You control almost everything here. This is, again, a PowerPoint for the teachers. Staff will make collaborative decisions on what parts of the program are utilized and on what timeline. Within Canvas, there are so many tools and so many different things that you can do that we're going to start with a district baseline. Maybe that might be that everybody agrees to put their daily assignments in there for our first step. And then maybe at the trimester, we're going to add something else. And maybe by the end of the year, we're going to say, okay, you are going to maybe have some lessons that you would like to upload of you going live, or recorded lessons where you're introducing a concept. You might post those there. So in the beginning, we're going to go with a nice baseline, and then staffs will make collaborative decisions. That means together, as to what part they're going to roll out next. And then also for big decisions, we're going to have collaboration between the schools for anything. So like at elementary, we have 3 elementary schools. We really don't want them to get too far off of each other, because we like to have everybody with the same learning experience. So if one school decides that they're going to use the calendar, which is a pretty cool feature, then I would hope that all 3 would use that decision. So as we move along, we're just going to keep building on this and building on this and building on this. One of the things that's really cool too is that information from the school or the district can be deployed right to the Canvas dashboards. So if there's something that we would like the parents or the families to know, or that all kids need, or there's a newsletter, it's one touch of a button and it goes to every single kiddo in the district, or in your school, or in your classroom. Another big win for Canvas is it's used in 90% of post-secondary schools, community colleges, and universities. 90%. I also talked to the folks at Canvas today. It is used in over 3,500 school districts across the United States. So that's a lot. It's about 1/4 of the school districts in the entire nation use this. And 76 districts right now use it in the state of Washington, which is also about 1/4 of the districts. So I actually had, my nephew is in college and he uses Canvas all the time. He's used it since high school. So this weekend I got to actually see his, and I'm just so impressed with what it can do. I think that our students, our families, our teachers will be as well. There's top-notch tech support with real-time answers. So right now, if there's Google, if you have a problem with Google, you type it in and you go to like a community forum. But with this, there's actually somebody there live all the time to answer your questions. So it doesn't just go to a community board and you have to wait for somebody. And then also our ESD is helping us in the implementation and the training. So they're always there for us. They have 2 people there that this is their expertise. There's one for primary, for elementary, her name's Hillary, and there's one for secondary, his name is Joel. And it works, this is K-12, we're going with this right on out there, K-12. We will also continue to supply Chromebooks and hotspots. Brenda, we met with Brenda and she let us know we have a 3-year deal with the hotspot, so we're still working towards that. The next question that we wanted to talk about was training for the teachers, because last year, you know, we were really in such a big crunch to get everything rolled out. Well, the ESD offers 18 hours of training, 18 hours of training on this. And they can get STEM clock hours, which is very important to a teacher to renew their certificate. We have to have STEM clock hours available. We're going to pay the teachers. They get to do it at their own pace. So this is 18 hours paced out through the entire summer. It's modules, so they can go in at any time and they can work for an hour, walk away from it, come back in a few days, work for another hour. It is totally on their schedule. It's all online. They can start anytime. My target date is to start June 1st, you know, after we've brought it to all of you and all of the staffs have had the time to talk about it. We'd like them to finish the 18 hours prior to the start of school because we want them to be able to start the school year with this. It would be advisable to complete before the late August, where we'll have a work session. We're going to bring the gentleman from the ESD, and it'll be Zoom. And as the teachers are building, they can do Q&As or they can ask specific questions. Like, I don't remember how to put the banner in there. Can you help me with that? So they'll be there during that time. And then we'll do additional follow-up training and support on Canvas throughout the school year. So I want to show you what this could look like. Maybe. Oh, my poor program's thinking about it. Okay, so I realize this is a little blurry. I am sorry about that, but this is what an elementary one would look like. So they can go like iReady as an assessment. So if they would hit this, it would go into the iReady. Star Falls, it's a program that they could use. Their math books, everything here would be there. Letters and sounds, story time, whatever the teacher wants to put on this board, this is what they could put on the board for them. And even for the littles, it can be as simple as a symbol, like a star shape, and everybody in the class knows that star shape is reading, or a plus symbol is math. So it's available to them. Again, this can be in class and it can be at home online. So in class, a teacher might have them all put it up in front of them, and we're going to take a quiz on it, and we're going to work on that way. Taking it home, you may have some assignments that you want to access or finish working on. You can do it at home. And then this is an example of a secondary. It's not very flashy. It's actually my Canvas from my classes through the ESD. So here they are. These are all the classes that I'm taking right now. They're all in different colors. The program automatically does that. If I would tap into one of these, all of the assignments come up, all of the modules come up, anything that's due, anything that the teacher's loaded is right there for me. And then within it, they'll have things like an assignments tab. So they can go to the assignments and they can see where all of their assignments are. The one feature that I really, really love, especially for our kids like 3rd grade on up, there's a calendar that takes all of the things that each teacher has posted. So each one of these is a different teacher has posted, and it puts it in one calendar right in front of them. So if this was an English class, the pink on my calendar would say paper due on blah, blah, blah. If the blue was math, it would say paper due on pages 16 through 24. Same with science. And they're in there and they stay in there with their due dates so that the student has all of them and the parent has all of them. I know that I have given you a lot of information, but please ask questions.
Hey, Kelly.
Yes, ma'am.
So just one of the exciting things about using an LMS is it helps us to implement and teach our technology standards as well.
Yes, and it also is really, really helpful when you try to differentiate, because I could load something up super easily, an article that I found on protons, and I could have found one that's on a lower level or on a higher level or on a medium level, and I can assign it to certain students. Alex?
Yeah, I just want to mention to the board, but first I want to just compliment you on a great summary of the program, of the platform. We are in the process of working with our principals, who in turn are discussing this and having a conversation with our teachers. We obviously have not finalized this in any way. We would come back to the board to get your support and final approval. But we need to make sure that our teachers and our principals understand what this is and how it can help all of our staff in terms of doing the very best for our students. So we're still in the process of reviewing what Canvas is all about. I want to make that really clear. No decisions have been made yet. One of the things that we are benefiting by this year, rather in comparison to last year, is that we were in such a hurry to implement something that would provide a foundation for our teachers that we moved quickly, and the training was an issue. In relation to this particular program, we have the time to train our staff if in fact this is the direction we want to go. But it seems from everything that I know about Canvas and everything that Kelly has shared with me that it's a great program. It's very supportive of our teachers in terms of what we're trying to do. But again, it's a process, and we're in the process of conversing about the pluses and minuses regarding the program. So we will be back to you for your final approval if that's the way we're going to go.
So we've had demos too. The principals have had demos, and we're, like Alex said, in the process of rolling this out, getting everybody's input, having a look at it. The demos haven't been done yet with the teachers. A lot of our teachers have used Canvas. You know, it's in our college courses, it's in ESD classes are in Canvas now. So they've seen it. The beautiful part about this is if we have to go down again, if we shut down or we have to go to blended learning for any reason, here it is. Everything's right there. All of our curriculums will be uploaded into it. It talks with Skyward. I could totally see if God forbid something happened again, where we make a decision on a Friday and Monday we're down, we're not really down. We still have all of our curriculums here, and we can go on with teaching. You can put direct links like Zoom. The kiddos can open up their tile, and there's the Zoom link right there if they want to Zoom. This is like the mothership of holding all of your tools and your curriculum.
And having the ESD as a partner in terms of training our staff is huge. And Andrew Hickman is an authority on technology in the classroom. He is a leader in our state. Probably one of the best that I've ever had the opportunity to listen to. And he supports this program to a great degree. So we have the ESD as a partner if we decide to move forward, which is very nice.
All right, so questions for Kelly. I guess I have a question to start with, and and I may have just missed this at the beginning, but so what's the why behind doing this? I mean, I understand, like, if we were to go down, it would be really helpful. If we'd had this year, it would have been amazing. I have experience with Canvas as a student. I've seen, my son has experience with Canvas as a college student. So I've seen the benefits of all of that. I'm just trying to, if I was a staff member in the district as a teacher, I think I would be wondering, so what am I going to use this for? So I guess that's the part I just missed what you said at the beginning about the why behind why we're doing this, and how's our staff going to use this if we're not going to be in an online learning situation?
Right. So as Marianne said, doing this is going to hit all of our technology standards. So there's that. Those are things that are required by the state for our kids. So we have that. But then also bringing us into the 21st century. So with our tools, everything is right here. So a teacher, we have so many different programs that the kids use and the teachers use. This puts it all in one space. And it also makes it extremely easy for the teachers to share curriculum ideas and materials back and forth. It's honestly just as easy as you put it in the comments and the teachers take it. There it is, it's theirs. It also organizes everything for them. Teachers will also need to be able to communicate better with parents. We've learned that. We need more of a help with that. And so it translates. And it does all that right there immediately for the parent. Parents can see everything. It's seamless. They go right in, they see whatever the kiddo sees. So that's another thing that will help our staff and our teachers and our families. The big part about this too that I find really, truly appealing is we're preparing the kids to move on for any kind of post-secondary. So even Running Start, the classes that they take there, they're all in Canvas. The colleges are in, the universities are in Canvas. By the time our kids, if they're using it from kinders on up, they're prepared. They are there. They have it immediately. And I feel like another big bonus from this is, honestly, like I just mentioned, is the transparency with our families. It is there. So the more that we train our teachers to use it, the better it is. Marianne has also talked about a dream that she has in her head where, and it's doable, where if a kiddo is missing school or will be missing school, they can go into Canvas and their assignments are there. They don't have to wait for the teacher to write things down. They can go right there and they can find their assignments. As we move along and we're asking teachers to maybe put introductory videos in where they're introducing a skill, the kids have that to go back to at night or on the weekend to look back over that if they're needing to do some work. It's how we all live right now, just about, is through technology and submission of paperwork, all of that. It's right here. Now that doesn't mean it's perfect. You'll have some students who still have some glitches and some things that they'll need to do, but we can supply that paper and pencil for them. But for the most part, it's all here, organized. Teachers we won't be running papers off as much. We're not killing as many trees. I could go on and on. There are a ton of things here. Bruce had some ideas too about streaming. If you want to stream, you post it right in here. The kids go in and they hit it and they're streaming. It's done. So it does all the things that K-12 was doing for us, but it just does it in a more seamless manner. And with our materials, our teachers are running it. It's there.
It's much less expensive than K-12, and we will give you the exact figures once we delve into this a little bit more, if in fact this is the way we're going to go. But it's far cheaper than K-12.
Well, the state has a contract with Canvas so that we get Canvas below market price. So it's $3.75 a kiddo or less, depending on the amount of licenses that you get. And then the other part that we were looking at is Andrew shared with us the documents from Google that show that they are going to start serving or charging for some of their products. So it's not, I mean, Word and, or not Word, but Google Docs and like Sheets, things like that will still be there. But the system to manage that and to do some of the things that we want it to do, $5 a student. So, and again, as I said, right now, it's not ADA accessible.
I just want to emphasize that we are in the discussion stages with our staff and our principals. No decision has been made, but we just wanted to share with you what we're thinking in terms of a platform like Canvas, so that if someone asks you about the program, you'll have an idea what it's all about. But we will be coming back to you in a hurry.
Yeah, I've got questions just about all of this as I listen as a parent and a school board member. I appreciate that we're in the beginning stages of all of this. I think that, you know, we're not in the emergency part of a pandemic at this point, and it does point to doing in-person learning next year. So, you know, I definitely would like to see principal and teacher input on this. I'm wondering if there's some way, you know, because I don't know anything about Canvas. I have to apologize for myself. I don't work in education, even though I'm on a school board, you know, for 6 years. I try to pick these things up. But having gone through this as a parent, where everything was then put online, and I've heard, you know, we went with K-12 because it had a curriculum, you know, and that was an emergency part for us with this pandemic. You know, other school districts went with things like Google Classroom, things like that. I'm listening to this as an LMS. It doesn't have a curriculum. It sounds like teachers would then be tasked with putting their curriculum virtually on there. And as a parent, I mean, there's this balance on this 21st century learning of computerized, needing technology skills, hands-on project-based learning that really engages students. I have 2 children right now that are getting very different experiences in our school district. One who's primarily on K-12, even when she's in the building, and that is not enjoyable. And then the other who's doing more hands-on project-based, you know, science projects, things like that. And that is engaging. That is what they're enjoying. So I don't know what the direction is with this. You know, this is where you all bring that feedback in. I would like to know, you know, is there a teacher committee that's being able to work with this and get used to this? Is there a way to do this on a smaller scale? Is this something that you're thinking would be rolled out district-wide? And then what are there pieced off components of this if we are, I mean, my hope is that we are, you know, face to face, that we are doing school that way, that, you know, things have moved into a different way. It is, you know, my children, when they are on their computer all day long, they get headaches from that. It is not as engaging. It is not, if somebody's just going onto a computerized program, even watching videos and not having that, you know, conversation with the teacher or things like that. That's, you know, I want a balance with this is what I want. And I want us to take the time to get the feedback on how this is. You know, this is interesting that it's being brought out. I'm obviously curious about the costs too, because that was a concern with K-12. But yeah, this brings up a lot of different questions for me. Another thing I have is this a suggestion from the ESD? And then do we have other schools that have been using this widely that we can understand best practices or what's worked or what hasn't? As a board member and as a parent, I would like to understand just how this tool is actually being used. Yeah.
I can help with some of that, Carrie. I don't want to mislead anybody, and I apologize if it kind of went down that rabbit hole. This is not something that we want. The curriculum is there. So if they've worked on a lesson in class, in person, face to face, and the teacher wants them to finish up reading a chapter, or they have to finish up writing a paper, this is there for them. The curriculum's already there, the materials, the books. This is not something that when you're face to face, the kids are not opening this up to watch a video or anything like that. They might have it there, the Chromebook available there if the teacher has put like a quiz or a test on it. Because when they answer it, first of all, it gives them practice with those technology skills. But it also leads them, that's how our state assessment is run, it's all online. So they may do the assessment there, and then it gives the teachers immediate feedback. It scores it for them unless it's, you know, short answer, that sort of stuff. This is not a tool where I would say anybody should be putting up lessons for the kids to open up their computer in the day and do ever. That's not what this is for. This is just an information hub for all of these tools to be in, and for communication, and for the parents to be able to look and have it, the pages interpreted for them if they need to help their kiddo at home with something, which is what we hear often is the child goes home, they're working on, let's say, algebra, parent doesn't know, the teacher may have posted something up in there where the kiddo can go back and watch that introductory lesson if they need help. It's not meant for being in the classroom, having it completely open, running through the day. That's not what we want. We want, you know, the teacher to be having those kind of conversations and actually teaching the lessons while the kids are there. So in the primary world, I view this as more of a informational tool for the parents to see what kind of lessons are there. The teachers might post up, instead of sending home homework folders, which is something that are, you know, it's typical for the littles, is to send home homework folders. They may put this in this format, and the kids that can do it in this format, like suggestions. So tonight, kids, you might want to read blah, blah, blah with your parent. Or I might have put a book in there that will read to them. There are so many options and so many different things that can be done with this, but it is not meant to take the place of face-to-face instruction during the day. Not at all. Not at all. And when actually, like when I pull my nephews up, who's, you know, he's in college, but it was so cool to just look at it and a touch of the button, all the grades are there, all the assignments are there. It's all in one place, which was pretty awesome, I thought. Yeah, Jenny had made a comment in there that her son had used it. The written assessments are uploaded in Canvas for scoring and study guides for communication, all of that sort of thing. Like syllabus could be put there, and we do use syllabus in our high school. There's just so much that can be done with it. But you're right, we are looking at a slow rollout if we decide to go this way. And it may just be for elementary, again, we're just using it for communication until second trimester. And then we're maybe going to commit to putting assignments in there for homework for the kids, suggestions that they might do. But at secondary, teachers, there are a lot of teachers right now that are fully into this, having the kids submit their paper through Google. And that's how they're getting their assignments submitted to the teachers through Google already. And so this makes it just easier on that front and more accessible. And I think because you haven't used it, there are a lot of people, Carrie, who haven't seen it or used it. The further that we go down this, I might have the guy, one of our guys come and do like a demo so you guys can, so that the board can see it and see what it would really look like.
I think that would be helpful. I mean, I just going back to what we've gone through with this whole pandemic and, you know, just the concern of jumping into another new platform, you know, the training that's going to go into that, the buy-in, you know, when people are having to switch gears. And, you know, it sounds like some teachers in the district are familiar with this, either because they're personally using it. I know Sally Carr, you know, it sounds like she's familiar with some of this, but this is not something that, you know, that I am familiar with at all. And I'm just, you know, I don't want to, I've got concerns about jumping in deep with something that, that if, you know, that is not understood, I guess, by everyone, how it's going to be used. I mean, I am happy to hear that that doesn't take the place of in-person learning. I think that's going to be critical next year, you know, when and if we are, you know, 100% fine being back to doing that. That is going to be critical. So yeah, I look forward to just having a better understanding of this. And, however, it's best to, if they're just like we do with these subcommittees, if there are groups of people that from the schools, however that's structured, that can get a better understanding of this to see how that's going to work for those grades, or, it may not work for all grades. I don't understand exactly how this is applied. So, I mean, it sounds like it's a good information hub for all things, but I know that there's a lot of different tools out there too. So just trying to better understand where we're going with this. So thank you.
I can assure the board that we will be very careful in terms of this particular issue. We won't jump in without knowing what we're dealing with in terms of the staff and in terms of the system itself. But we won't bring anything forward that's not supported and that people have not bought in. There's no question about that. And that's why I emphasized earlier that this is a process. And we've asked our principals to talk with staff. We're going to continue that discussion and we'll make a good decision. And we will bring that back, whatever that decision is, we will bring it back to the board. But like anything new, there's people that are somewhat skeptical of something that's just come about, and we know that. And so we're going to be very careful in how we approach our staff, and we'll be listening, and hopefully we'll make a good decision. And maybe starting off slow or not doing it at all. That may be the decision too, that we don't do anything. So we'll be back to you for sure.
Aberdeen, Carrie, Aberdeen is using it right now. Just
What's
down
that?
the road. Aberdeen is using it right now, and they're just down the road, and they're having pretty good success with it. I know a lot of school districts around use Schoology, which is not an option for us because of the compliance issue. So, many districts have a platform like this. This is just, I really would like to capitalize on the momentum that we have going with the teachers using technology and being able to communicate that way and making it available. But we'll do lots and lots of.
Well, and just to double check, so if we did not go forward with this, what we do currently have is Google Classroom, which has been used somewhat. That's generally the only other tool that's being used within our school district outside of K-12, which we're not going with. So,
and this is really very different than K-12. K-12 has an LMS, and that's like what the kids see when they log on. That's their dashboard and all of that. This is the dashboard, but just with all of our things in it and what we want to use. The attendance automatically rolls over into this. So parents, when they go to it, they don't have to go to 5 different places to find different things for their kids. It's all in one location. So I'll get somebody in here to demo it for you. And it's hard to even fathom it if you haven't used it.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
The timing is critical. I will agree. Maybe this is not the right time to move forward with this program. And we have a new superintendent that's coming on board. We probably need to consult with him in terms of what we're trying to do. So we have work to do before we make any decision on this. Then I can guarantee the board that we're going to take our time and make a good decision. And like I said, we may not do anything after we find out how people are feeling at this time. So we'll see.
I have a clarifying question. So this instrument could be used for those students who want to be 100% online. And our teachers would be responsible for that, as well as a tool that's used for management and of those teachers or those kids that go to school. in person. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's kind of true, Sally. For the kids that are 100% online, we have to use approved curriculums that the state has approved, and there are very few. So with the secondary kids for our 100% online school, they'll be using Fuel Ed, and we're still working on identifying what the kindergarten through 5th grade students will use. This is more for all of our students right now and into the future. It can be used as our tool if we have to go down and they stay, if some have to be online during that time. It can be used for that, or in a blended, it can be used for that.
I don't understand when I'm not understanding the different messages I'm getting. And
Okay.
Well, if we went down, yes, they could use this, but no, they have to use curriculums that are approved, but this doesn't have that. That's something different we'd have to do. I'm hearing different messages.
Because it's different. It's different. So our online school, the one that we're going to be going to, so that students have an option to remain 100% online. That falls under the umbrella of ALE, our alternative learning experiences. And you have to register your school with the state. They have online curriculums that only they have approved. That is totally separate than what I'm talking about with Canvas. This is something for all of our districts. And there's a difference between if you shutter your doors because of a pandemic, or let's even say like a flu outbreak or whatever. If you shutter your doors, you don't fall under the ALE umbrella. You're not an online school. You're just delivering your things online for that short amount of time. And so that makes it totally different than what we're talking about for our online students. It's really, really complicated. And I'm sorry I didn't explain that very well to begin with. It's completely separate. Those online kids are falling under ALE and they'll register under that.
I think I do have some concerns, and along the lines of, in less than 2 years, we're pushing our staff to learn yet another system. Well, they've already gone to Google, they've gone to K-12, they, and yeah. At what point do we burn them out? Also, you mentioned that our textbooks could be downloaded into this.
Yes.
All right, could be.
No, they are.
They are. That's totally fine, copyright wise and everything, by those textbook companies.
Yes.
Or are we paying extra for that?
No, we already pay for the online books, Sally, with all of our kids. What it does is Canvas links up with the company, and they do all the McGraw, they do all of them. And so it's just there already. We already have purchased the material. So it's not like if we purchased 700 of the Reach for Reading Grade 3, we have copyright for 700 of the Reach for Reading Grade 3. They all have online presence there. So it is embedded immediately in, we just tell the company which ones we need.
Because just doing some quick math, this would cost us about 1.6 million, plus
No.
ongoing supplies of Chromebooks. And
we already have the Chromebooks, Sally. We already have,
we have some Chromebooks. Those Chromebooks don't last forever, and we have seen in there's a pretty good sizable turnover, I think, from students I've seen. It's not you buy them once and they're good forever.
Right, we have a plan for it. And then this program is $3.75 versus the $335 a student.
What are you talking about?
So this program is $3.75 a student.
What program?
Canvas.
Well, you just told us $375, not 375.
No, $3.75 a student.
Okay, earlier I heard a different message, what was really clear. That means $375.
It's $3.75 a student. The Canvas is $330, or not Canvas, K-12 is $335 a student. So it's $3.75 versus $335.
Per year?
$3.75 per year.
And if we were to move forward on this, Sally, we would come forward with all the facts and figures. We'll see where this conversation takes us in terms of the overall picture. I will agree that the timing of this is very important. We have a meeting tomorrow with our union. We'll be discussing this thoroughly, and I'm sure we'll come up with a good decision, taking everything into account that's been discussed this evening.
So is this a big push right now for school districts all over, or what? I mean, I'm just wondering, because we've been through COVID for 1.5 years now, and this was the only thing, that's the only thing.
So there are 76 districts out of almost 300 of them in the state. So a quarter of the districts already use Canvas. They already use it.
So they went to Canvas instead of going through K-12 or Google or something.
No, most of the districts already had Canvas in their district before COVID.
And they use it K-12.
Yes.
I think that's where it would be helpful to just hear how some of these school districts are using this, before the pandemic, because that's, the direction that it sure sounds like is going for, regular school next year, or as new regular as that is. But understanding how to utilize some of these technology tools that are out there, and understanding the cost of that, and where we begin with that and how that looks is what I'm feeling like.
I think a lot of it also goes along with not just the learning of the technology by teachers, by staff, for the kids, and also for the parents. What kind of services do we give to them? But then ongoing, what is the expectation, at what level do we have for our staff along those lines?
That's all part of the process, and we'll be working through that with them. It is one of our goals to be 21st century educators, and as Terry said, there's a balance, and we're working on the balance, and it's a district goal. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly, very much. So I will say this, having experience with Canvas and having experience also with the K-12 system and with other various learning management systems, I do know that this is a very powerful system with a lot of really amazing tools. So based on what I am hearing, I think communication is going to be super important, because there is some confusion around using this as a tool versus using it as a basically school style, which does not sound like the intent. I think that also then it'll be really, really important to have staff buy-in on that, because like Sally and Carrie both mentioned, we've had a lot happen here in the last year, and we've had to learn a lot of things really quickly. And so I think making sure that the staff feel comfortable, that they know the why, and that this is a direction that they feel will be beneficial to their craft will be really important. And I know you're all working very hard in that direction, and that'll be part of the whole process as we go towards making this decision. So thank you very much for your presentation tonight, and we'll look forward to more information. I think especially seeing a demo of this will probably be help us wrap our brains around it a little better.
Well, and I had just a couple of other thoughts to add.
Sure, go ahead, Sandy.
Not necessarily that I expect anybody's going to have those answers tonight, but we had a lot of issues with passwords when we first started K-12. So I'd want to know how are passwords going to work in this one, who provides the help, how does it get reset, those kinds of things. And there's a lot of debate on the success, the abilities of certain translation apps. So where does this translation app fall on that spectrum? I like the idea that we can go back and use the curriculum that we have approved. We've spent a lot of money and time reviewing and selecting criteria, a curriculum. So it's nice to be able to use those again. The ability to stream doesn't necessarily sound like, from what I'm hearing, doesn't sound like teachers will be simul-teaching. Okay. And then the other question I have is, how do we make sure, or, how does the teacher in the classroom make sure that their online material stays current with what they're doing in the classroom? I see a potential maybe to get out of sync, and then an emergency happens and you're trying to play catch up a little bit. So those were just some of the thoughts that I had. Like I said, I don't expect that we'd have the answers to those, but just some thoughts I wanted to share. Thank you for the presentation. It does have a lot of powerful features, it sounds like, and I look forward to more information.
All right. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Kelly. And Kelly, it looks like you're up again for community resources recognition. So I will hand it off to you because you have a whole long list of names here.
I do. Our folks over the summer and throughout the entire year this year have really worked on the well-being of our students and our families. So, I've talked about it a few times, but I really do want to call a few people out. Darren Marshall, Betty Uriastegi. How was that, Betty? Not too bad. Juan Flores, who is actually Betty's husband, has been along for the ride for a lot of this. Kristen Fenley, Bill Hutchinson, who is one of our family liaisons. Kristen, of course, is our family engagement person. Hannah Megan, who is a teacher at OMS. Wendy Burlett, teacher at the high school. Mike Burlett, who is a teacher at the middle level. Rosemary Gray, who does our newcomer program at the middle level. Kat Kelly, who is a teacher an EL teacher at one of the elementaries. Yvette Salamanca, one of our other family liaisons. Heather Kowalski, Nate Lawson, Jean Fairbrother, who works here. I really want to thank them incredibly from the bottom of my heart. I want you all to know some of the hard things that they've done. We actually had Kat Kelly and Betty, and I'm not sure who else went with her that day, but they went house to house over in some of our housing areas to communicate with our non-English speaking families about getting vaccinations, and then they went with them to the vaccination site so that they were there to interpret. They went house to house. And I don't know anywhere else where a school district has done and has that kind of commitment to our families. So I wanted to say thank you for that. And I would like Betty to kind of talk a little bit more about what her team did. But I also want to recognize Green Diamond because they donated enough money for us to have a new washer and dryer over at the Resource Center. So that's really important. And I just cannot tell you what your employees as our board have really been up to. It has been awesome. Betty, do you want to just say a couple of words about what your team has done and is doing?
Yes, thank you for having me. Well, like Kelly say, a lot of things have been happening, starting during the summer with Jefferson Doyle that no longer work here, but did an amazing job with starting a fundraiser for our, at that time it was for our families that were qualifying under our homeless program. But then we have more community outreach, staff members bringing donations, so it went bigger than what we thought. A lot of people reaching out to us, knowing the wonderful things we were doing. At that time we didn't have pandemic AVT, so a lot of families were reaching out for help with food, hygiene products, and I'm happy that those names were mentioned because I wouldn't be able to done it by myself. It really takes a team to actually all these great things, and we bring our expertise together in order to be able to provide the best services for our families. The community support, it's wonderful. They have support us in many ways. Also, we have got 2 grants through building changes for the COVID, it was kind of COVID emergency relief funds. Um, and we have been able to actually have a start our food bank here at the Student and Family Resource Center. We have a clothing bank. We started the project also to have a washer and a dryer so we can do our own laundry here at the resource center. But not only that, our goal is to be able to have those available for unaccompanied youth so they can actually come and get their laundry done while they can do, we can offer some tutoring after school. They can have access to our conference room where they're able to actually do homework while they can do their laundry here. And we reach out to the partnerships around in order to be able to get our washer and dryer. And we had good responses from our community. Like I said, we have a lot of community support. The Jalisco Tortilleria down the road, they support us. Green Diamond donated $1,400 in order for us to get our washer and a dryer. And we are also working with Sierra Pacific. Currently, they are processing one of our applications because not only we are going to need a washer and dryer, we need supplies. We need a lot of stuff in order to keep up with our big projects that we have here. And like I said, I am very fortunate to have a great team and a very supportive community. And I mean, just to also, it is an honor to also being able to work with Ricardo. Ricardo was our delivery guy, so the way we honor his name is to continue his legacy. We continue to serve the families as well as he did, and we'll keep working hard to keep up with the great work he was doing. And we have a lot of great things happening, and we're very happy to be working for our community. Thank you.
I just want to thank the board thank you, Betty. I just want to thank the board as well for continuing to support us with all of these programs. Not every school district does this. Some things are required, but not all of the things that we do are required. And every time that I've come to the board with something, you've all been extremely supportive and extremely kind about it. So thank you.
Yes, and I also want to say that we have a lot of our ELL teachers. We get a lot of support from them when it's about community outreach. They say yes to going out to Blevins, to Adams Street, to be able to talk to our families about vaccinations. And so it is great to have their support as well. And thank you for the support.
Thank you, Kelly and Betty and everyone else that has been a part of this. Is there any comments or questions from the board? Alex, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I'd just like to thank Betty and her team of people who are continuing the legacy of Ricardo. I was concerned how Ricardo's legacy was going to continue in terms of supporting our people, but Betty has jumped in and has provided great leadership to fill a huge void with Ricardo's passing. So Betty, thank you. Thank you to the rest of the team for all the great work that you've been doing all year long and beyond that. So continue the good work.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate those reports tonight. So we're going to go ahead and move on to item 5, which is our consent agenda, with many of the usual kinds of things, including personnel reports and warrants. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, consent agenda has passed. So moving on to item number 6, which is discussion and action items, which we do not have any tonight. So we are going to skip on ahead to number 7, which is the superintendent's report. So Alex.
Thank you, Sally. Just very briefly, I've been spending my time the last few weeks on dealing with negotiations, staffing, and budget. And of course, working with our high school administration and Mary Ann and others regarding our graduation ceremonies, which have taken a different turn. And they're requiring a lot of work, quite honestly, in terms of the logistics involved, so that we have a great ending of the school year and graduation for our graduating seniors. But I'm looking forward to a great graduation for all of our high school students. And with the help of many people, it's going to be a wonderful experience. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alex. So we come to item number 8, which is our second opportunity for community comments. If anyone would like to make a community comment, *9 to raise your hand, or if you're already in the room and would like to make a comment, you're welcome to do so at this time. And I will pause here for a couple moments. All right, so not seeing anyone wanting to make a comment, we'll go ahead and move on to board member comments. So Sally, you're at the top of my list right now, so why don't you go first?
Okay, I'm going to make this short. Again, thank all the efforts across our district to support our kids and our families. It takes everybody in our community, and we see that every day. I have been doing a lot of work lately with WASDA as a board member there, and also as I'm the chair of the equity committee, and I also serve on the government committee. And we've been doing a lot of work around some of the legislation and what that means and what it means in putting together different policies that will be going out to the districts. This Wednesday, tomorrow, I will be hosting our regional meeting, our spring regional meeting. And I think you probably have all gotten the information about that and the link. WASDA always has certain things that they're going to cover. And then I always have a piece. So I'll give you a heads up. I always get to have a piece of saying, okay, I want this to be looked at. So my topic this time, so think about this before the meeting tomorrow night, is high cap. What's been going on, especially during this pandemic time, in supporting our highly capable students, and have they gotten the support and the challenges that they've needed during this time? And as we do go forward in our plans that are coming from OSPI, let's don't forget those concerns. So that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Sally. So Carrie, why don't you go next?
Yes, I'll try to talk before my dog barks again, too. I'll keep it quick. I just want to say thank you to everybody for your continued hard work. We see that as a board. I see that all the time. I appreciate, reading the board reports, and I see that plans are made and then they're changed or they're adapted. And this has been a trying year, and I know everybody's hit a wall at different times, and you get tired, but everybody's pushing through to try to, make this be the best that they can for, these students that are graduating. And I do feel for this particular student or senior class, this graduating class, because they had last year disrupted as a junior, and then this year has been so disrupted as well, too. So I really do appreciate the different surveys and the reevaluation of things. And I do hope that I hope all of this can go off without a hitch, and that people can celebrate. And thank you for your patience with all of my questions, and my concerns. So, I thank you all very much that I get to be a part of, these decisions, that I get to ask these questions, and that you do help me, gain a better understanding. I appreciate that very much, and just being on the board with these other ladies that I'm on the board with. So that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Sandy.
All righty. I'll make mine short as well. And first off, want to ask Sally B, do we have to register for this thing tomorrow night? I'm not sure that I saw that, so I'll have to follow up on that. And
I'm not sure. I think you do.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I may
It
have
should be
that.
on the WASDA website if you can't find it in any other place.
Okay, go back and look at that. And yeah, I also want to thank everybody for everything that they have done for all the various aspects. I mean, we had a lot of reports tonight, and they cover a lot of different areas, and that's just a small portion of the work that's being done. There's so much more that's being done, and I got to say that everybody does it very cheerfully. When we get these reports, everybody is still enthusiastic and cheerful. And so I appreciate that and thank everybody for that. And hope everybody has a lot to look forward to in the near future. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Sandy. So I wanted to note that today is May 11th, 1 month to the last day of school. So I am sure my fellow educators have been keeping track of that as well. May tends to be the month where, as teachers, you sort of hit the wall. And so I wanted to say thank you to our teachers in this especially unique year that we have had, for all the efforts and all of the flexibility and all of the creativeness that you have put into this year. Thank you. It has not gone unnoticed, and you will have definitely earned your summer vacation and then some. So also thank you to all of our staff for tonight and for all the information, and to everyone who's worked on graduation, as this has been sort of an evolving process. I appreciate the flexibility and the desire to really do the best by our kids and our seniors. We make a really big deal about graduation. It's a milestone. And since we have made it a goal in our district to reach 100% graduation, it's something worth celebrating and making a really, really big deal about it. So I appreciate all of the really hard work and effort. I think, in fact, I was dropping my son off for a swim meet this afternoon, and it looked like there was a bunch of people that I recognized out on the football field, which I have a feeling was probably graduation related. So as they were walking around and marking things off and practicing things. So thank you for all of that. So with that, we do not have a need for an executive session tonight. So we are moving on to item 11, which is adjournment. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.